Nuestros ojos se abrieron por primera vez frente a un territorio inmenso. Nacía una mirada de pioneros, capaz de imaginar un gran futuro. Desde el comienzo, nos propusimos llevar esta visión a todos los rincones del país. Abrimos tranqueras, trazamos nuevos caminos, sorteamos dificultades, llegamos a lugares donde nadie había ido antes. Fuimos los primeros en ver el potencial de cada región y hasta de imaginar comunidades donde aún no existían. Para llegar a millones de productores de todo el país, nos multiplicamos. Nuestros ojos se volvieron cientos, miles. Hoy, somos capaces de mirar a lo largo y a lo ancho de todo el territorio argentino. Estos ojos curiosos también están preparados para mirar en lo más cercano y diminuto. Pueden ver hasta lo que parece imposible. Nacimos con el desafío de mejorar la calidad de vida del productor rural y su familia. Con el tiempo fuimos capaces de llegar más lejos. Ampliamos nuestra mirada hacia toda la sociedad. Logramos productos innovadores y sorprendentes que son orgullo para todos los argentinos. Frente a escenarios complejos, impulsamos el desarrollo sustentable. Difundimos el uso de energías alternativas, garantizamos el acceso al agua y promovimos el respeto por el suelo. Pusimos al alcance de millones de productores tecnologías de bajo costo. Acercamos conocimientos, compartimos visiones que cumplieron sueños y transformaron realidades. Sumando esfuerzos con cada productor, logramos aumentar el valor y el rendimiento de los frutos de nuestra tierra. Esos productos se ganaron la confianza de consumidores de todo el mundo. Seguimos trabajando con ese objetivo. Hoy nuestros ojos buscan nuevos puntos de vista para poder seguir viendo siempre más lejos. ¿Cómo se crea una mirada tan poderosa que se sostiene en el tiempo? Confiando en la capacidad y el trabajo de las personas. Detrás de cada proyecto, de cada unidad, de cada desarrollo científico, estamos las personas, hombres y mujeres con historias que nos fortalecen. Personas que saben mirar a los ojos, que transmiten confianza, sabiduría y compromiso. Personas que conforman una red inmensa, resistente. Un equipo que puede transformarse y renovarse al ritmo de la sociedad y la historia. Porque desde 1956 hasta hoy sabemos lo que nos hace fuertes. Un modo de mirar el territorio argentino. La mirada que ve el mejor futuro para todos. Nuestra mirada. La mirada del INTA.
Hola a todos, bienvenidos a la tercera y
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this third and last session of our Knowledge Week and this 16th workshop for technical follow-up on Fontagro project. It's a digital event, as you know, and as we did yesterday and the day before yesterday, we have simultaneous interpreting. So if you click on the world map icon at the bottom, you can select the English language if you wish. We are very thankful to all of you for being here with us today. Since 1998, Fontagro has financed 167 regional projects for technical cooperation for the benefit of farmers, scientists, and other stakeholders from the countries of Latin America, the Caribbean, and Spain. Over the course of these 3 days, we have been listening to presentations on projects, 16 in total, that are currently underway. They cover a broad range of topics such as sustainable intensification of dairy and meat, livestock production, the use using agroforestry systems and adapting to climate change, use of technological instruments for precision irrigation, technological tools for pest control, and others. I now want to welcome Eugenia Saine, the Executive Secretary of Fontagro. Please go ahead, Eugenia. Good morning, and thank you, Pedro. It's an honor to be in this 3-day event. This is our final day, and it's this year's activity. For us, it is a pleasure to have been here these 3 days to see presentations of all these projects that Fontagro funds. There are many more, and next year we will see some of them. To start with, I would like to open the day, to begin today by extending deep gratitude to INTA Argentina for all the support that they have given us as the host organization. We hope sooner or later to be able to hold the event in person again so we can learn more about the territory and see it live in living color and being there. I want to emphasize all the support we've received from the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, AICA, our sponsor, where our technical secretariat operates in their offices, also to all the people in Costa Rica, those who are here in Washington, who have provided so much support for the organization of this event. I also want to thank the IDB, our legal representative, and all of the agricultural specialists who support us day after day in financial management of the operations. Also, the area of strategic partnerships from IDB, which um, Gert-Jan Hertz and so many others who have been with us, and also the legal team. And most particularly, I need to thank the researchers and all of the institutions that are part of this network of the innovation ecosystem. As you know, Fontagro is co-financing and supporting research, development, and innovation initiatives from platforms out in the regions, public-private partnerships. There are always two, three, four, sometimes as many as 11 countries get together on these projects to try to solve shared problems, to learn from each other, to develop new knowledge that can become innovation. The agricultural sector needs constant innovation. And if you want that, you need to invest. You need to invest in the research institutions and in training researchers and also in trying to facilitate these networks. And that is what Fontagro is all about. For us here at the Secretariat, it's an honor to be able to work with you and serve you. Very good. Today is a special day because the projects that will be taking part today will be concluding. These are all projects that are in their final stages. When a project ends, when it concludes, it becomes part of our internal competition for our award, the Fontagro Award for Scientific Excellence. This time we have 6 competing projects. They will be giving their presentations today, and they will be describing the stories, the lessons learned, the results they've achieved, the outcome they've seen for the beneficiaries who have been working with them over the course of these 4 years of hard work. During these years, they've all had to face different challenges of climate change, for example, in some cases drought, in other cases flooding, and very often they find that they can't get out to the fields to take measurements, and this is why it's so important to have the support of people who are out there in the field doing this, and of course, COVID. As our president was saying, and our vice president of Fontagro in the past few days, the pandemic has changed the way we work, and even so, the Fontagro projects continued with restrictions, of course, varying from one country to another. They've all had to introduce restrictions, but the projects did not stop. Science does not stop, and this is very important to emphasize. As we complete the panel discussion of the projects, the 6 projects, everyone who is with us today can make comments, use the social media. We're live right now on Facebook and YouTube. Our board of directors will be voting, and we also want the other Fontagro researchers who are watching today to vote as well. So we will announce the award winner at the end. Very good. This panel discussion will be led by our director, Esther Esteban Rodrigo. She is the line director she's the director of the Spanish NARI. Thank you, Esther, for being with us today. And I want to give you the floor at this time. Thank you, everyone, and I do hope you enjoy this day. Thank you, Eugenia, for your introduction. Good day, or good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. And I have to say, in addition, Eugenia thanked many people, but it's not enough because we know that there are so many people involved. We've been very impressed with the scientific level of the projects we've seen presented here, the impact they are having in the communities, in the territories, and among the farmers in the countries. And I think Fontagro has much to be proud of because of the work that they are doing in Latin America and the Caribbean. It's wonderful, and this is a wonderful opportunity to see the outcome. It's so well organized and so graphic, and which reflects all the work of the people who've been involved in organizing the activity. So I'm delighted to be here with you. Let's get started with this third day of the technical workshop of Fontagro. As was already explained, we will see presentations on 6 projects that are wrapping up this year, and then we will have the award competition from Fontagro. The projects we will be seeing today, this morning, this afternoon, whatever, are family farming, innovation, and markets, number 1. Number 2 is technological innovation in Andean cacao. Number 3, development of regional microeconomies in the production of essential oils grown on mining lands. Next, productivity and competitiveness for Andean fruits. 5, the network of innovation for rural development in the Gran Chaco in the context of climate change, and finally innovations for protected horticulture in tropical areas. After the presentations, the leaders of the projects will have the opportunity to answer questions posed by the listeners today. So you can use the chat line for that. So now we can start off with this third day of technical presentations. And to begin, we will first welcome Francisco Rodriguez, who will be presenting the project Family Farmers, Innovation and Markets. Please go ahead, Francisco. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And good morning. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you can see it, please. Can you see my screen, Esther? Good. The project, Family Farmers, Innovation and Markets. Could you please put full screen, set it on full screen if you will. Ah, yes, there it is. Family Farmers, Innovation and Markets. This project analyzes commercial innovations for family farmers in the 3 countries that are included on the project team. Our researchers are which is Argentina, Bolivia, and Spain. This research project examines one of the central problems faced by agriculture in our countries and in all of the countries of our region. The relationship with markets is something that we overlook at the beginning of our initiatives, or we leave it to the very end. But in the end, the relationship with the markets is critical. After a whole year of hard work, it matters. It matters for the production work of these families. So when we focus on that link, then we're addressing something that is strategic and extremely important for everyone. But markets is a simple word for a very diverse situation. There are many kinds of markets. There are farmers markets. There are different types of markets that the farmers associate with. One thing I want to emphasize is that even though conventional markets which we are all familiar with, are markets where family farmers generally are on a very imbalanced situation. They have very little influence over prices, conditions of delivery and of sale. These markets are important, but they are not the focus of our research. Instead, we focused on different types of markets, which have been taking shape over the past couple of decades at the initiative of farmer organizations and associations, and very often at the behest of consumers, organized consumers. These are the short circuit markets. Direct sales, for example, sometimes at the farm gate, sometimes or through farmers markets, sometimes organized around quality projects differentiated by quality, organic markets, for example, in some cases also associated with participatory guarantee systems. We have also seen the use of digital platforms for sales among the organizations that we're working with. And finally, we have also been studying cooperative centers or that take care of the logistics and distribution organized by farmers themselves. So there's an enormous diversity of markets, of innovative experiences. And so what the project wanted to do was get a better understanding of them, understand the mentality, the social, cultural, institutional implications that gave shape to these types of markets, that made them happen, and figure out what they do and why it has been possible to create them at all, and also how they can be sustained over time. And this is so that we can all see that. So these are the markets that we're working with, that we studied in the project. As I discuss some of the traits of these markets that we've seen over the few years, I also want to share with you some of the pictures of the people that we work with. Some of them are some of the markets that we've been working with over these years, and the ones we have been accompanying in their organizational process, and as we have seen how they have given structure to these devices for marketing purposes. The platform, if you look at the study, the research is being done by INTA in Argentina, which coordinated it. But we also have participation from national universities of La Plata, Mar del Plata, and Misiones in Argentina. And also we have institutions from Spain, the IEGD and the Basque Country University. And in Bolivia, we are working with Fundesnap, with the Association of Organizations of Organic Farmers in Bolivia, AUPEB, and also Agruco, which is a center from the University of Cochabamba. So this is the research team that has been doing the work with each of these different marketing experiences that we have studied. The type of the objective we set for ourselves, which was to understand the mentality the behind these markets, the values, what they represent, what they mean, all of which has led to the construction of these markets, and the very creative ways in which they have been structured, and all how they have come up with appropriate technology, they have come up with organizational changes, they have launched new agreements, and all of this took a great deal of time because it's a type of study which would entail qualitative methodologies and cooperative methodologies. What do I mean by that? In order to understand all of these different variations and meanings, you need to be in very close dialogue with the farmers, with the consumers, with the technical people in the experience. And also it's important to make them part of the process, of the research process. They need to be contributors to the project with their different types of knowledge that give rise to the markets that we're studying. So it's important to understand this methodology. It has made it possible for us. We're completing 14 studies right now, and in all these cases, we've been able to identify a number of factors in common among all of these innovative methods. Briefly, we've seen that one very important trait in all of them has been the presence of sound, strong organizations, the presence of collective practices to face problems of marketing. Also, it's important for these organizations to take on professional practices, to professionalize their work, because today's market requires specific skills, and there are specific demands, and this requires coordination with other stakeholders. In all of these experiences, we have seen models of governance, territorial governance, also horizontal governance with different levels of coordination and decision making by the stakeholders in the market. It's also been extremely important, especially starting in March of last year with the pandemic. We've seen more use of IT in order to sustain these marketing experiences, and strategic linkage with consumers. Consumers are a critical stakeholder in these particular initiatives, because these consumers have a different scale for valuing these products. These are conscious consumers. They're aware of the need to understand product quality considerations. They want wholesome products. They want organically produced products. They want products that will not impair the environment. In all of the experiences we observed, there is a direct link with these particular conscious consumers. Specifically, I want you to know this is a testimony we have from one of the producers here in Argentina, and we took his statement as an example, as because in his statement we see three driving ideas that are important and that we identified in all of the of the examples. This is what it means. It's this dream, this challenge that makes it possible for them through their projects to obtain fair prices, and recognition of the quality of their foods, and also to be able to build direct bonds with their consumers who ultimately benefit from this production. With respect to the results of our project, I want to emphasize a few, and you can see them. In the research, we completed 11 in-depth case studies of these marketing innovations, which led to a considerable number of scientific production. We've published, we've given presentations in conferences, we've published in scientific conferences, we've produced posters, we've also contributed chapters to a number of books, 56 altogether. The project is, again, a research project, but through the pandemic, it produced a number of training activities as well. Many of these training activities focused on e-commerce, on digital trade. So webinars, seminars, led by the project. We had more than 1,800 people taking part, and many more if we consider the number of people that watched the videos afterwards, after the webinars were over. They've been seen more than 23,000 times. And the project is building 70 virtual stores with the work of the farming families in Bolivia, and which has led to a number of research projects, development projects, and extension projects, which are led by the researchers involved in the Fontangro project. And this is very important. There have been even graduate students have used the project for their thesis purposes. More than 70 students have taken part in the research. Women play a critical role in family farming, and many of the activities have seen always more than 50% of the participants have been women. In the case of our team, more than half of the researchers are women.
So in closing, I'd like to show you this poster, which summarizes this innovation that began in March of last year at the beginning of the pandemic. Back then, we worked with 2 farmers markets in the city of La Plata, very close to the National University of La Plata. And those 2 farmers markets, just like all others, had to be closed down for a significant period of time due to the pandemic and due to the health and hygiene protocols that need to be followed. But that led to the beginning of an innovation process, which was quite impressive. In a couple of weeks, a marketing organization was created online with an online basket with the help of students of the University of La Plata. And what they did was to create 11 distribution nodes, and every other week, sales of products, of produce, were carried out. And as you see to the left, we're not just talking about these two specific farmers markets that we had been working with. Others came along, cooperatives, producers and farmers associations, etc., that work with this marketing company every other week. Several products, foodstuffs are sold, but not only, also arts and crafts and others that you can see listed to the right. The organization of this virtual market begins 2 weeks ahead of time. And that's when prices are set and the online basket is filled, and there are 5 days for consumers to make their orders. And then on the day of the sale, which is on Fridays, there is the nodes carry out the distribution activities, and the prices are prices set by and received by the farmers. So the this marketing association or company gets 10%, a 10% margin over the prices, farmers' prices. So in a matter of weeks, these organizations went from street markets in La Plata to an online system where they created networks with consumers, they reached out to consumers, and they also brought in other co-ops and associations. The major challenge faced by the members of this co-op, so to speak, now is twofold. First of all, the organization. So this having stability and persisting beyond the pandemic, and also an agri-environmental agreement for all of the goods that are marketed through this outfit. So I am running out of time, I assume, but in closing, I'd like to say that this example, it takes us back to what was said initially. This is a research project that was well devised and developed in the area of social science that includes the values and the important factors for all of these stakeholders, and work together with the producers themselves. In this case, what I can share with you is just a slide, but all of this is part of our publications, of our final reports, and the technical sheets, fact sheets that we have issued at various levels and in different vehicles. So finally, I'd like to thank all of those who made this possible. First of all, Fontagro for its financial support that enabled this platform to become a reality, and for this work to be carried out. And also the technical team at Fontagro, more specifically, who have been there day in and day out, solving problems which were daunting for us, the researchers. And finally, I'd like to thank the institutions on the platform that I've already listed, including the Argeninta Foundation, the manager of the project, and all of the farmers and consumers who have been involved in the research projects that have yielded so many lessons learned over the last few months. With that, I will conclude. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Francisco, for your excellent presentation and for explaining how a marketing works, which is a pivotal part of the chain, of the value chain. And thank you about this initiative, for telling us about this initiative that emerged as a consequence of the pandemic. Now we'll hear from Angelica Sandoval, who will be speaking about technological innovation and Andean cacao farming. Let me try and stop sharing my screen.
Buenos días a todos.
Good morning to all.
Vamos entonces, voy a compartir la pantalla.
I will now share my own screen. The project I will be talking about is entitled Technological Innovation in Andean Cacao. We worked with Peru and Colombia on this very important crop for both countries. Cacao produced in the Andes is produced by small farmers, which are usually isolated. They're not really in associations, and they face major problems in production and in processing. So the idea was to improve production methods, also focusing on a very serious problem that we see now, which is the presence of cadmium in cacao seeds and beans. Since 2019, threshold levels have been brought down. And since our soils are volcanic, this heavy metal is quite prevalent in our soils. So the question here was how to reduce the tenor of cadmium. And we also wanted to improve the fermentation process through improvements. And a prototype was created with initiating or starting cultures. And that led to the encapsulation of flavonoids. These are well known around the world, these compounds, because they're good antioxidants. These products are very much appreciated in other countries and are already traded and marketed in other countries, such as in Europe. This is a product that is originally from the Americas, but we didn't produce it. So what did we do? We tried to come up with higher quality specialty cacao so that we could offer higher quality products, especially thanks to climate factors that lead to better chocolate, fine chocolate, and that is so much appreciated around the world. We analyzed the production system to pinpoint what the problem was, and we looked at the nurseries to see what a technological solution could be to bring down cadmium levels. Prototypes for green fermenting systems were developed to provide a solution to producers, because fermentation is done in an artisanal way without control of several important variables such as temperature. So we wanted to improve the technology so that we did not lose the heat that is generated during the processing of the seed and the bean, and make the most of the product for the consumer. And also another market was created, which was the adding of value through the antioxidants that are found in cacao beans, and also technology transfer. We would have liked to have these workshops in person with our farmers, but because of the pandemic, we had to work online and also produce videos, but that was also a learning process, and so that all could take ownership of the process and the lessons learned. We were still able to reach out directly to our producers at the beginning of the workshops, and in very small meetings this year, we were able to make presentations and provide the results of our work to producers who were very appreciative of them, and because they understand that post-harvest activities are very important to guarantee the high quality demanding by the markets. We've worked with Colombia and Peru, as I said, and in Chile, we're getting support from the University of Chile in some specific testing for flavonoid encapsulations, or encapsulated flavonoids to actually analyze the properties of these compounds. The results were geographic information systems were generated at the nursery level. It was found that clone CCN51 is more tolerant to the presence of cadmium in soils. that heavy metal that I mentioned, and the remediation of soil by applying dolomite lime plus mycorrhiza reduces the presence of cadmium. There were two prototypes that were assessed, and the flavonoid encapsulation process was standardized. There is something very important that I'd like to talk about, and it is that we were able to search for regional materials, and we found that there are materials which are very, very high quality. This is a grain index sample. It refers to the size of the seed, which will, of course, have an impact on the final yield of the product. And we found certain materials, regional materials that are adjusted to our conditions and are very high quality, which can only be compared to international clones, international renowned, so TSH, ICS 95, etc., and and we have even and CCN 51. We have found some that are even better than those. That means that we need to continue to work with these materials that we identified, because they may offer better yield to producers, and more importantly, varieties that are adjusted to our climate conditions in our soils, and of course will be more resilient. As a result of our work, we have over 1,000 producers who have benefited. There are many women out in the field, and also in terms of taking ownership of knowledge, and the videos and the workshops that we carried out, and everything we had to do online to be able to support our farmers. Two geographical information systems were created, one for Colombia, one for Peru, two prototypes, one for fermenting systems, one for Colombia and one for Peru, and the flavonoid encapsulating system, which we were not aware of, we were not familiar with, but was a major step forward. It was done by one PhD student and two master's students. At the country level, we were able to select 10 higher quality materials, and to see where they can be continue to be used. And these materials, because they are so good in sensory terms and productive, can highly benefit our farmers. I will show you what was done with this work. These are the materials that we picked, because they were specifically differentiated in terms of floral tones or nutty flavor. And these are the provinces where we worked in Colombia. One of them is Tolima. And these are the materials that we selected as very high yield and high quality. So we will be planting them, and hopefully the characteristics will remain the same, because this is a process for the standardization of areas. And we found where the same conditions are present in terms of soil and climate to maximize the chances of materials behaving in the same way, in a uniform way. And that's very important for propagation, so to speak. And we need to pick the right materials that are higher quality and that are adjusted and adapted to the area to guarantee the highest quality and the best yield for our producers. Usually, materials are selected from areas that are different and are planted in an area that does not have the same characteristics in terms of soil and climate, and that has a negative effect on size. So since we have identified the characteristics for the material and the areas where we will be replanting them, we expect better results. This is where we worked with nurseries with 5 genotypes to see how they behaved in the presence of cadmium in soil. And the genotype CCN 51 is less vulnerable to cadmium, whereas other genotypes such as 7 are more vulnerable. This is very important because we need to understand which materials need to be used for our clone, and that has been helpful. Also in the nursery, bioremediation, different bioremediation techniques have been used with the use of lime and rhizosphere. So the mix of rhizosphere together with dolomite lime is more beneficial. Lime used to be used separately, but dolomite lime is more expensive, but the use of both will bring down cadmium uptake. As to fermentation, we're using the two prototypes that have been developed. In Colombia, they used a larger tires, a larger tire and smaller tire in Peru. And why did we use tires? Because this is a contaminant, this is a pollutant. And the truth is that rubber is a natural isolating material. These production systems release heat, and in the usual systems that we use, they just cover the beans with just tarp, and that releases and loses heat. However, this material, the rubber, does isolate and keep temperature inside. That temperature control is one of the main features needed to guarantee good early fermentation. Additionally, we also selected several microorganisms that are there, such as lactic acid bacteria, yeasts, and we just selected those that were most resistant, thus generating a basic inoculum that is added to the fermentation process and thus improves the process by adding this inoculum. When you do not allow fermentation to occur naturally, higher temperatures are reached faster, because we're making sure that microorganisms are there when they're needed, and the fermentation process benefits and the sensory characteristics demanded by the market are guaranteed.
It's very clear that this worked on platforms in the laboratory. As we add microorganisms and in a higher percentage, we found that there were fewer cases of unfermented or insufficiently fermented beans. Out in the field, of course, variables are not quite the same, but in the laboratory, at least we did see improvements in temperature and also an increase in the number of well-fermented beans. The prototype inoculum needs more work. This is a technological option that is not yet available to our farmers, but in other countries, it already is. But for our farmers, because of cost and other considerations, it's not affordable. So we need to keep working on that and make sure that this technological option gets into the hands of the farmers. And finally, standardization of the production of flavonoid capsules. We're doing this with spray dryer and with freeze drying, and we're working with clone CCN51. There have always been complaints that it has a different, that it isn't as pleasant. But people like it because it's very productive. The pod is much larger, but sensorially speaking, it's not so good. Very often in the cooperatives, the CCN51 is fermented separately because of the fact that it has a high level of flavonoids and therefore it's bitter. But for the development of extraction of flavonoids, where we work directly with the beans and we need to ferment, we find that that has excellent potential. And with the analysis of antioxidant capacity, we have found that it's very high. When you compare the two different ways of making capsules, we find a much higher antioxidant level in the authorization process. Of course, we work cold, but because of costs, the spray drying is much more economical than the freeze drying. So we want to continue finding ways to apply these capsules to enrich other types of products, enriching in fact lines of chocolate making, because in the fermenting process you lose some of the flavonoids. So one possibility would be that at the end of the process you reintroduce the encapsulated flavonoids. So you have a product that is sensorially attractive and at the same time has a higher level of functional benefit. Other results, it was able to, with the resources we had from Frontagro, we were able to hold an internal meeting of all of the researchers to discuss a product which is very important, but we haven't seen, which is the cocoa shell. The shell of the hull represents more than 60% of the fruit. And so when it's considered a waste product, you lose a great deal. And there can be problems out in the field as well, because this is where you can have fungus, which brings the most serious cacao diseases, which is witch's broom and Monilia. We have found that this material is able to absorb heavy metals, the shell. And so we're working with young researchers to develop a prototype filter using this material, which is currently a waste product, but we think that in the future it has a great future, because unfortunately in our countries illegal mining is very widespread and it is contaminating water sources. This is why we need to find technological solutions that are low cost, working with waste products like this, which can be which can be in the hands of our farmers. So the same is true for antioxidant. With the cacao beans that we've identified, we were able to do a theoretical study as to the degree to which it was able to inhibit the main protease of SARS-CoV-2. And we found that that this capacity is very high. And therefore, it offers a new possibility in the future to continue applying antioxidants that are cacao based. Thank you very much. Thank you, Angelica, for this presentation. It's such a project of you're covering all the different stages, from farming cacao to the selection of varieties, the problem with cadmium, the encapsulation. Very complete, very thorough. I think we seem to be having a technical issue, so we're going to change the order of the presentations. I want to move directly at this point to Carlos Odero, who will be talking about the project on Andean fruit productivity and competitiveness. Please go ahead, Carlos. Thank you, Esther. I'm going to share my screen. I hope this works. Please let me know. If everything works, and I think it's working, I will begin. I am Carlos Orrego from the National University of Colombia, Manizales, and I'm a leader of this project, Competitiveness and Productivity for Fruit Development in the Andes. The idea of this project is to have an impact on the avocado and passion fruit chains, also citrus fruit chains in Colombia and Ecuador and Peru. We're working with researchers from all three countries, and also we have support from researchers from Spain, from Catalonia particularly. I want to talk about the context. We're working with fruit, and fruits, for the most part, are food products that we're all familiar with. They're healthy, wholesome, they prevent diseases, and many studies have shown this to be true. And for this reason, the markets for fresh fruit all over the world, locally as well, are growing. This growth has been seized by Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia, which are net fruit exporters. That's good news, but we want to see more benefits accruing to the family farmers, who are the ones who, for the most part, provide all of this fruit. So we need to help them, these family farmers, to overcome some of the weaknesses they're up against if we want them to remain in the market, and ideally to be able to receive a bigger cut of all the benefits of the market. These are some of the results. I want to talk about a couple of them. We have problems with contamination. We have agrochemical residues. We have problems with logistics. The shelf life of this fruit is too short for the product to be distributed to developed markets, which is where most of the market lies. In short, our project in this context wanted to figure out how we could develop knowledge and transfer it to the farmers to answer the question as to how these innovations can be developed in order to leverage market opportunities and overcome some of these difficulties in the face of climate change. Our initiative, as I already said, we're using a chain approach. We're also using the circular economy approach. With respect to the chains, we took action on a number of different links. First of all, the farm on the farm production by offering options for fertigation and other inputs, and also sustainable agronomic practices, also post-harvest practices, where we measured the shelf life of the fruits and made suggestions to extend it. So we developed a large number of prototypes in the lab that can be expanded in their scope and also into the market. All of these activities took shape within many of these proposals. We studied in terms of sustainability indexes, considering technical factors, environmental factors, social considerations, all of the aspects of sustainability. Our technological solution. There are, as you will see in a while, there are many different products at different stages of the fruit chain that I can't discuss in detail at this time. We don't have enough time. I can't give you all the technical details, but I will focus on the trials that we held on fertigation for commercial crops and crops in the field. The first one is in Hass avocado. In both cases, we had good outcomes for the seedlings. They grew vigorously. Their first fruiting came earlier, so it was early fruiting. Productivity was higher, and also quality was higher. In fact, in these trials, we also examined sustainability considerations, environmental impact, which of course is one of the considerations for sustainability, and the categories of carbon footprint, soil contamination, water pollution. This technique that I just described, the fertigation, had a lesser impact than traditional treatments or conventional treatments or the controls. With respect to the Hass avocado, we set up a small farm with fertigation on a farm in the Pierre-Risaralda region of Colombia. An avocado farmer provided the space, the plot for us to do the trials, and we started in April 2019. That year we were unable to measure all of all the quality and production. We did see that the quality improved, but we began to see a positive impact. But by 2020, we were able to. At that point we had 2 harvests, and we had 8 tons per hectare. And just to give you an idea, in Colombia, avocado producers produce 10 tons per hectare per year. So they say that 15 is excellent, and we were able to achieve even more than that. So in their best years, they come up with 15, but we produced even more than that. So, but I can only give you reports through 2020 because we are just starting the harvest for this year. So we will see how it goes. But we expect it to be even better.
In terms of productivity and quality of the fruit, the effects were so good that farmers the farmer decided to invest out of his own pocket to continue to work in that way. And this is, here is his testimonial. He's very happy. And of course, all of the researchers are just as happy with the results. As I said, the participating countries and institutions are from Colombia, Ecuador, Spain, and Peru. There's a National University of Colombia, SENA, also the National Learning Service, and a company that markets and also processes fruit. INIAP and ICA in a subsidiary of FLP also in Ecuador that participated. As to the results obtained, there are quite a few of them, so I will not talk about fertigation. I will just read others. So there are two databases, soil, plant, water, climate databases, 3 sustainable agricultural practices, 6, 2 for processed fruits, 2 shelf life lengthening methods for passion fruit and Hass avocado, and 3 new passion fruit materials. We had 1 market study on fresh and processed fruit markets for all 3 countries and around the world. We developed 32 prototypes in the lab. We developed 19 foodstuffs, 3 cosmetic products, and 4 other types of materials. And we had 3 of them became prototypes and products, and 3 products reached the market with the support of a company. The 2 carbon footprints of Gulupa and Hass avocado were reduced. We designed software for the calculation of that footprint, and we created 3 biorefineries, and 24 papers were written, 19 published, and 5 have been submitted. We expect them to be published this year. We had a dissemination activity, an outreach activity. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we had to work online, and that has been the case for over a year. But still, we have been quite successful at holding and hosting in-person events before the pandemic. And here are the products. These are actually the indicators that I will be telling you about. These are the highlights for validated fertigation technologies. The number of participants at these outreach events were 3,000, 32 value-added formulations, 90 products, or rather papers were written with the support of 41 students and technology experts linked to the project. And as an aside, the students in Colombia, we say they really, really worked very, very hard. They didn't just help us here, but also with the virtual dissemination and outreach. They produced hundreds of videos, e-cards, and over 100 videos, e-cards, and infographics. I mean, we supervised their work, but still they worked extremely hard. 3 new passion fruit materials, and also we increased productivity by hectare of commercial avocado of over 8.3 tons, and with vis-a-vis the 2018 baseline. Here's a video. There's no time for that. And here are some pictures that illustrate the project. And this is an infographic with some additional points of note. First of all, fruit production is very important in our countries, and the chains that we chose to work on, which is citrus, avocado, and passion fruit have created 900,000 jobs in 2020 in these three countries. And also in 2020, they brought in $1.2 billion in exports. It was a bit below 1 billion in 2019, just so you see how fast and dynamic, how fast growing, paced and dynamic this market is, and how important it is to obtain better prices, a premium for these. On the left, as you can see, the human talent that we used with the help of researchers, consultants, and students, and especially very many women participated at the helm of this project in the scientific part of the project. As to dissemination, we talked about that already. As I said, we've had very many things. I don't even know where to start with my report, and I wouldn't want to leave anything out. But to the right, there were six projects that were that materialized at a very high technological complexity level, not only with the company GLP, but also other persons that were involved in the project also carried out six, or rather started six new companies. Some of them already have raised some funds and will be up and running soon. Also, the use of social media has been very important, with 705 organic followers on social networks and over 57,000 views on social media. In closing, I would like to add a couple more comments. To do that, I will go back to the landing page of the project, and this is our team. Without them, this would never have come to fruition. These researchers, many of them, obtained funds for the project from other sources, and this was done together at the same time, as in tandem with the project, and will and have kept it alive. These projects, if we were taken together over the last 3-4 years, plus the 2 years we still have ahead of us, was it took millions of dollars, and we were able to do that thanks to the reputation that we have and Fontagro's reputation. And I'd like to thank Fontagro and ASTA for their wonderful support. And with that, I will close, and I know I believe that we have done our job, and we are so happy with it, and so galvanized that we wish to continue working on this. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Carlos. That was a very interesting presentation. It's incredible to see how technology can help improve fruit production to such an extent, with such a huge impact for the region as a whole. Now we will hear from Horacio Castellani, who will be speaking about the Innovation Network for the Rural Development of the Gran Chaco Americano in a climate change context. You have the floor, Horacio. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the board of directors of Fontagro for this, for all of the opportunities afforded to us over the last 3 years. The region known as the Gran Chaco Americano is known as the one of the most biodiverse places in the world. In Latin America, it's the second largest ecosystem that is very diverse in terms of wildlife. It covers Argentina, Bolivia, and Paraguay, but it does face dire problems and especially in terms of adaptation and resilience to climate change, especially for small-scale farmers. These small-scale farmers are family farmers, and they live off of systems based on native hillsides. And several organizations participated in this project. And from the beginning, the idea was to address the fact that we all needed to come up with a project to use this capital, this networking capital to create innovation in the territory in the interest of local producers. And the idea was to generate a proposal to grapple with climate change through Fontagro. And this initiative, we brought together two major platforms. One of them is Red LAC, which has been in place already and used by Fontagro, and one with IFTA, INTA in Paraguay, and INIAF from Bolivia, INTA from Argentina, and IPTA, from Paraguay. And all NGOs and land-based local organizations in the area of Gran Chaco, and are the link to the people in the field. The goal is to work together as a large team in coordination out in the field. The idea is to come up with better coordination methods and tools to benefit the inhabitants of the American Chaco. What the solution we found was that based on the demands of the various territorial units and what the farmers actually produce and interaction with technical experts and the need, especially for research that is adapted to local needs, to carry out research that is tailored to the needs of the area. So beekeeping is and agriculture are the collective way to innovate. I'd like to talk about the results that we have attained throughout these months. We have reached out to and benefited about 6,000 beneficiaries through both platforms that I just mentioned, and through the team and all of the science and technology institutions involved. The main strategy behind this was to use the organizations, producers' organizations. The team does not work on an individual basis with the farmers, but rather associations are involved and working groups with 125 grassroots organizations that create a local link at the country level. And that was done with a team of 165 professionals. Mainly, it's a team made up of 50% of the Gran Chaco and the other 50% coming from the science and technology institutions. And 50% of them are researchers, and out of those, 30% are women. When we take a look at the major tools that we used, one of them that linked our work to the territory are the demonstration units, what we call the demonstration plots, divided into 3 activities, mainly beekeeping. Out of the 26, it's 19, then small ruminants, yet another activity, and silkworm. So these demonstration units are the places where we develop these local solutions adapted to the different territorial units and then a link is built with to be able to transfer this knowledge that was acquired to the rest of the producers. And what you also see is 11 validation. We want 11. We will be using 11 validation sites with the participation of the technical experts and the farmers, where they actually put this technology to the test and see how well adapted it is to the territory.
There's some other indicators, especially over this past year with the pandemic. It's what we call the online courses. This is work that was done by the INTA team, the National Beekeeping Program. 3 of these courses, two were done over the MOOC platform. And that was organic production, also with Procalis, which is another area of INTA Argentina. And another one was a course on good beekeeping practices. Altogether, we've reached more than 400 people in 50 countries around the world. This over the past year, what we've replaced, we're using this to replace our direct contact with the land, with the territories. But we've been able to provide tutors and trainers. So to a degree, we've been able to replace what we were doing, even though we miss it. The direct contact with the producers and also the training of the technical teams. Another indicator that's important is the training and leadership training, especially working with the platform of the course of study, the major, where they train professional beekeepers in the university. 25 of these specialists were trained, and we're developing a new project for training the technical experts and linking them to the producers. 4 ag techs. Of these, this is happening inside the project. 2 of them are viewers to see the specific information on beekeeping. As you can view the different demonstration units and the technical information, prices, and so forth. It has all the information. All the information available is there, and also there's an information blog. If you go onto the website of our project, under news, you will find an informational blog which discusses all this, along with the MOOC courses. And finally, there's a specific app for the Gran Chaco, which is the link with producers. This is the app for ADAP, where we work directly with the smallholders to collect information and also give them information on a daily basis. This way we can have up-to-date assessments so that the farmers in the region, which is so large, Gran Chaco, all they need is a cell phone where they can find the information they need. They can receive it and they can also post it. Also publications. Publications is something we need to emphasize, both by the research team and also by the territorial teams, where we're able to document all this information. Many of these are publications for conferences, but we have also had 103. We also have technical publications for small ruminants and for beekeepers, and also our own technical notes, which is the result of our project itself. I want to emphasize, and we want to focus on this, the objective of this project is the network of innovation. As part of this network, at the top, you can see we're talking about strengthening the network. So the main achievement of this project has been to institutionalize the network. And so we can talk about achievements of all of the main organizations, the research and development institutions, and also the organizations and foundations that are involved. What we say is that what Fontagro did was to unite the Gran Chaco around this project with the science and technology institutions, so that we're all working on the same purpose for the same objectives, which is to improve production. An example of this is in the Gran Chaco, an assessment project that we carried out, where we examined specifically the area of small ruminants, uh, because small ruminants are so important, and especially for women, for the work of women, and how and what an impact it has on the households and on the lives of women. Uh, So the team started to realize how important it was to have this network for in the Gran Chaco, starting with the INTA team, which has national programs. And today now there's a structural program, but from the from northern Argentina, and also the programs and work teams for Gran Chaco and the smaller teams. So we were able to put together a network which today has more than 40 professionals involved. The other team that was created as a result of this project is the beekeeping network, uh, which stood out on our team because of the work they have done, because of the work done by INTA, uh, to bring together the technical staff of INTA Paraguay and also the organizations in all the different regions, because of this interaction. These networks essentially base their territorial strategy on the demonstration units, which go out to the territories. That's where we have direct contact. It is true that, that before the pandemic, first, everything changed. When the pandemic started, everything had to change. But the beekeeping demonstration units have continued to be strong. We've provided technological solutions adapted to the specific locales, and today we have as a result of the 19 beekeeping demonstration units in the Gran Chaco, especially in Argentina. But we were saying that these are pilot areas for validation, and there are now validation sites using locally adapted technology in Bolivia and Paraguay, where we are where we provide information. We make information available. If you log on, I encourage you to do that. The website of our project, of our Fontagro project, you will be able to find the map. We have a map there which shows all of the demonstration units, and they're geo-referenced. So you can look at that map and look at the different tools and the different photographs. And you can also, there's also a viewer where you will find all the technical information that we have. This is one of the features of the technical notes. The other thing you will find is how we solved the issues with the with the linkage. The technical meetings, for example, before the pandemic, we generally held training events on a virtual basis in order to solve some of these issues. So many stakeholders have been trained, and specifically by this project, this Fontagro project, made an enormous contribution to the working teams by strengthening all of this. Under small ruminants, a project that we've been working on is 6 demonstration units, which have had a very serious influence. When the trained producers are very evident, and many of them are women, and they have changed the family production here. Where we're working the most intensively is in the process, improving production processes, improve production processes, going in a better direction. Also improving the quality of the work of women in these modules, in these technological solutions. Also, in 2019, we felt that it made sense to emphasize a process which was silkworms. Silkworms are an asset that exists in the Gran Chaco. Natural silk is something that offers a quality that is even superior to Chinese silk. What we still needed to do was the first section, which was to improve the production process. In this, that's what we're working on now. We have a team from INTA, Argentina, which is working on this. All of these processes have been underway for years now. From the project and from the entire team, they're all working, and there are many projects where we can continue to work. I would, speaking on behalf of this team, I would simply, at this point, I would simply like to thank you and thank the technical secretariat of Fontagro for all the support we've received from them. Also, the Technology Institute of the NARIs, especially INTA Argentina, and all the support that we've received from the other countries that are in the project. And I would invite you to take a look. I want to thank the entire team, all the people that are in Red Lac, for the Gran Chaco and this project. All the results we've achieved, all the proposals we have are a result of everyone's hard work. Thank you very much. Thank you, Horacio, for this very interesting project of creating networks of innovation through demonstration units, which has been so successful. We now want to go with Jorge Jaramillo, who is going to talk about innovations for horticulture in protected environments in tropical areas. Go ahead, Jorge.
Jorge, no te podemos escuchar.
Jorge, we can't hear you. Perhaps you could open your microphone and also put your screen on your presentation on full screen.
Muy buenos días. Primero que todo,
Good morning, everyone. First of all, speaking on behalf of our team and all the research institutions that are involved in this project, we want to thank you. INTA Costa Rica is one of them, INIAP Panama, IDIAP Dominican Republic, and Agrosiva from Colombia. On behalf of all of them, I want to thank the board of directors of Fontagro and the technical team for giving us the opportunity to work on this system for protected horticulture in high temperature areas where in these regions, we don't have intensive vegetable production. Very few species are grown and in a very low-tech fashion. In our countries, vegetable production in protected conditions is strictly a family farming project. It's smallholder economies, and it's especially important for food security for our populations. Traditionally, vegetable production has taken place in colder and moderate temperature areas in open fields, sometimes under protected conditions, and there have been successful examples. But in these high temperature cases, generally, what the producers do or what the governments do is to implement protected conditions with no technical assessment of the agroclimate performance of these structures or the physiological and agronomic performance of the species, that in order to be able to give farmers technical recommendations that have been clearly adapted to the local conditions of these farmers. In our own case, the initiative that we have undertaken is to try to explore vegetable production under protected conditions. As you know, you all know the many benefits that are available worldwide through protected horticulture, and there are protocols for this type of production using BPA free materials for imports. But generally, these areas adopt technology from other regions without evaluating the local conditions or adapting these models to local conditions. So we, in response to all of this, developed 3 components in the project in order to meet our targets. The first component is socioeconomic, which is to identify, describe, and examine the value chain and the production chain so that at the end, we could determine the possible productive linkages based on supply and demand and marketing of these products.
The second major component is agriclimate. First is the construction of hyperstructures based on climate conditions in each region. And then thereafter, the development of production models for the various species and varieties of these horticultural products. So to develop these production models, and we make sure that we have identified the right species for this type of market. Also, there's the issue of the cost-benefit ratio, and to see how each can benefit our producers. And then knowledge management, another component, which entails training our producers and our students in agronomy about production under protected conditions, because there is a lack of trained personnel in the area. There is a very positive experience that was brought by INTA in Costa Rica, which has been in place for about 4 years, with women, entrepreneur women, who have been successful at doing just that with this type of technology. Before I go into the results, I will briefly go into the major indicators of the project. We have trained 2,837 people, out of whom 47.1% are women. We have trained 900 producers, farmers, and 7 structures were designed for this country, for the countries as mesh houses and nurseries. And we are working on technological recommendations and based on the agri-climate conditions of each region. One master's thesis was put together. There was an assessment of the value chain, and also 5 papers were written and published, and 34 events were carried out, both in person, training events, both in person and online. We have also assessed the whole value chain, which is a very useful document to inform decision making and production linkages. It's also fundamentally important by way of information, identifying each of the links in the production chain, identifying what the market potential is, and also points of areas of opportunity or weaknesses that need to be worked on. After the financial component, we went into the agri-climate component, where the net house was designed, these 7 structures for the protected structures in Colombia, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, and Panama. And they each meet specific requirements in keeping with the agri-climate conditions of each region. So once in place, the performance of these structures were assessed in the open, with and without crops. And we have finally concluded that the conditions they provide are optimal for the development of these species, and that's duly guaranteed. And the ability to identify these species in terms of productivity and health as well. Once we assessed the crops and we started analyzing the way they worked in the structures, each country has its own species, priority species. We have 25 materials in Colombia, 5 species, and Costa Rica works especially with bell peppers, with 7 cultivars. The Dominican Republic, 3 different types of peppers, especially Cubanella and Jamaican peppers and diamond peppers. And we got the various agronomic and financial economic indicators as well. The assessments that we have undertaken have already shown some very interesting data. Most definitely, our nurseries are working well under high temperatures. And as I said, this is unprecedented. These projects usually do not work out because of the fact that no regard is given for the types of species and structures. In Colombia, for example, bell peppers grow best in net houses, and then at nurseries and greenhouses, actually. And in Costa Rica, we assessed also bell peppers. And here is the largest number and percentage of commercial products, especially in greenhouses, then followed by net houses at 5 meters and 3 meters, respectively. And the rejects, which are losses to the producers. As you can see, the production of the species with these materials has less reject than in the open field. And these are the other cycles in the other countries. We have found, in terms of physiology, for example, how much much better they do in these nurseries and the net houses. And so under protected conditions, production thrives as opposed to those that are grown in the open outdoors, which are more exposed to the elements and to climate change. As to knowledge management, we have carried out 38 events throughout 2019 and 2020. And take a look at what the breakdown was. There were 26 in-person events in 2019, and in 2020 and 2021, we've had 9 online events, which in response to the challenges brought about by the pandemic in this regard. All of these online events were broadcast and advertised on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, with over 5,000 views in the various social media. As to trained personnel, women, there were 1,326 women, as I said. 47.7% of those trained were women, out of whom 311 of them come from other areas, other professions, and belong to other activities. 272 work with research groups and from academia, especially universities. 430 women farmers, and 193 technical specialists, assistants, were women as well. As to the team, 39 researchers have worked, and there is a large proportion, especially in the DR and Costa Rica, of women in the participation of women in this type of work. So once again, I'd like to thank the team and Fontagro and the technical secretariat for all the support they have given us. Thank you, Jorge, for your presentation. Now we will hear the last presentation in the series by Luciano Merini. He will be talking about development of regional microeconomies in the production of essential oils harvested in mining soils. Luciano, you have the floor. Hello and good morning to all. First of all, I would like to apologize for my technical difficulties. Unfortunately, everything worked fine during the tests, but something happened to the system and I've been experiencing some technical difficulties. However, I still wanted to talk to you about our project. So I'm here connected on my phone using cellular data. Hopefully this will work well enough. Catherine, could you please share the screen? Excuse me? Can you hear me? I wonder if you can hear me. Yes, we can hear you perfectly. Luciano, thank you for asking. Great. Our project is based on the development of regional microeconomies in the production of essential oils harvested in mining soils. This project has a specific background, which is based on prior cooperation between Argentina and Colombia, two countries that have been working together in addressing problems stemming from mining activities and pollution caused by mining, and with a view to attaining sustainable resource exploitation. This goes back to 2011. And there is competition for certain resources such as soil and the production of produce, and it generated also a link between Argentina and Colombia, where there's a need for soil recovery for it to be used in family farming. It is based on this background of pollution and sustainable production that we were able to address certain problems having to do with the environmental impact of mining activities through family farming strategies. More specifically, our approach was to produce aromatic plants and essential oils. This goes back to the social and economic impact stemming from the closing up of or the end of the mining concerns and their projects. And initially, there was a boom and job creation directly or indirectly. But the local population was the most affected by the end of these projects. They invested and worked in mining, and when the project closes down, they end up with a situation of regional economic depression and environmental degradation. So it was in view of this situation that we came up with an initiative based on our knowledge regarding soil remediation. And the idea was to do phytoremediation of soils polluted by mining using native aromatic plants with a sustainable approach, trying to restore the soils in organically and through family farming. Aside from this initiative, the proposal also includes the development and production of essential oils by the local population. So to transfer this technology for the production of essential oils as an initial step. And then secondly, to add even further value to the products obtained by producing cosmetics or bio inputs for agricultural production to replace more toxic agrochemicals. This as part of circular economy, the circular economy and sustainable agriculture. Also, our strategy is divided into 4 stages. First, to do a market study for the markets of Argentina and Colombia, an in-depth study, and to analyze their impact through the trade in international markets of essential oils. The idea is to seize certain market niches for essential oils based on our projections and our market studies. This is a growing market, an ever-growing market, and there's a niche market there, especially for products which are green, organic, environmentally friendly. So some of our products are in the process of obtaining that green certification.
With the market study ready, we were able to make some strategic decisions and move along to the next stage, which is to select suitable species of native aromatics that are tolerant to the heavy metals that are the most common contaminants in mining soils. And at the same time, isolate and characterize, describe microorganisms, mostly bacteria, from the free soils and the roots of these plants that have special characteristics that we can use for promoting plant production, and in the end, obtain better rates of production, of introduction of these plants on these degraded soils, better production of biomass and better production in the quantity and quality of essential oils, and ultimately to strategically select those microorganisms that work best, so that, and also to be able to, quote, decide, unquote, whether it would be possible to keep the contaminants in the soil, but stabilize them in the root, in the root network, or extract them. Of course, all of this is based, of course, on the design of the remediation strategy and the risk of dispersal of these contaminants. The third stage, we want to develop bio inputs based on the essential oils that we are able to obtain from the biomass cultivated on this mine slag. And the idea is to move into production of oils, which we've already developed in the laboratory. We need to do a pilot project, and once we obtain these oils and are able to describe them, by doing that, we were able to come up with a prototype for a repellent for Tribolium castaneum, which in Argentina is known as the weevil. It's a pest that affects stored grains in silo grains. And the idea was that this repellent would be able to replace more aggressive chemical products. Also, some phytopathogen inhibitors, which could also be considered agricultural inputs, and also a number of cosmetic products, based on regional traditions, especially in the native communities of Colombia and the tribal peoples of Argentina, for producing cosmetics, creams, lotions, and so forth, based on these same essential oils. As I said before at the beginning, the countries involved are Argentina and Colombia. And I can tell you that the idea of focusing in this closing event, I wanted to talk more about the results. We have a number we have 600 producers, family farmers, who have been trained and prepared, equipped in the production of seedlings and harvesting the biomass and for these essential oils, and also the simple development of cosmetic products, the processing of cosmetic products. These training events attracted a great deal of attention. We held more than 6 workshops, and 6 of them were critical. They were backed by the University of La Pampa, and they led to transfer of technology and knowledge, which had an enormous impact in the region. And this led local producers to join the initiative and to start up some of their own regional production of aromatics, not only in the context of soil remediation, but also outside, using whatever land they had available. In this process, we did bioprospecting, and we were able to identify two candidate species among the native aromatics that we studied that would be able to rehabilitate ecosystems and in many cases were tolerant to metals. In particular, we identified Ilianto, a product known in Argentina as Hina solillo. This is a wild species. We were already familiar with it, and we knew that it had biotechnology interest because its essential oils are the ones that possess components useful for this stored grain repellent that I mentioned before. And the microorganisms associated with the roots were extremely important because this is directly associated with Elianthus annos, which is the sunflower, commercial sunflower. So the description of the microorganisms associated with these roots and also the dynamics of the contaminants, soil contaminants inside the plant, even though we still have work to do on the design, but all of this is leading to the development of inoculants that will make it possible to move into commercial cultivation of sunflower in soils that have been contaminated with heavy metals. So this is part of a scientific publication that we're working on, but it's not, we haven't developed specifically as yet. It's on the drawing board. We were able to examine some of these native plants for which no protocols for greenhouse planting had been developed as yet. With these studies, we came up with more than 8,000 examples of native plants, seedlings of native plants, many of which were used for the field trials that were set up on mining lands in Acaipa in Colombia, and also lead contaminated soils in Argentina. This was as pilot studies. This is not common for soil remediation studies, and many of these went directly to be delivered. Many of these seedlings were given directly to their producers so they could start their own crops and produce essential oils locally. As using the biomass that these producers came up with, they gave us the biomass, the plant biomass, because we had developed at the scale of essential oils, not only technological development, but also the possibility of obtaining equipment for oil production as a pilot trial. And so we were able to return to them, that is, we obtained more than nearly 2.5 liters of essential oils from different types of plants, which were valued at around $3,000. So for a first cycle in the local market is quite a serious impact. In addition to returning a profit margin to them, a first income from the biomass they gave us, we also implemented certain quality activities for the production of essential oils, hygiene, quality in oil production, and also in the technical description, because since we worked in a university, we were able to return the oils, but with the full chemical assessment, the chemical profile, so that they would have a chromatographic analysis of their products that they could compare with future products. As a result of all this, or during the process of all these exercises, the idea to close out the production has been to develop a protocol for mine closures, and in this context, to bring a benefit back to the population. So as part of this research, we also 2 doctoral dissertations were completed. Noel and Lucia both did their dissertations. They have now graduated, and they are continuing with the work in the project. in postdoctoral work. And as I said, we held six workshops that had a heavy impact on local production. Many of these studies have been published in 7 international papers that have been published already, as I said, and 2 more are coming. One is at press, and another is still being written. This is a complex story to tell, I have to say, and we don't have much time, but the idea is to incorporate sustainable production on used mining soils with reactivation of regional microeconomies by producing essential oils and high added value products. It's an idea that is complex to develop, but it's also very innovative. In 2018, it earned us the award for sustainable leadership by the Argentine British Chamber of Commerce. Finally, and as I know it's time to close, we are finalizing this together with the project. The idea is to work with the Argentine Chamber of mining companies to write up in this final month of the project. We want this to be we're writing the first protocol for mine closures based on sustainability and restoration as part of the projection toward sustainable mining, which the Business Chamber of Mining Companies in Argentina is promoting. As I close, I want to thank Fontagro particularly for having given us this opportunity. The financing from Fontagro had an enormous impact for us to consolidate our studies, to bring them out to the field, which is very difficult to do for plant remediation projects. Also to be able to hold pilot studies at the scale of mining. And also I want to thank the entire team that was in the project, the companies that came alongside, Prosimiel and the Association of Organic Producers, everyone, because without everyone's hard work, we never could have done what we have done. And finally, but equally important, the technical secretariat of Fontagro, which even up to today, with all of these technical difficulties, have always been there to solve problems, to help us with any difficulties. They've always been there for us. So thank you so much, and do have a good day. Thank you, Luciano. Interesting project, a sustainable answer for the use of land that has been contaminated and also improve the life of local populations. Very good. Now I will take you to the leaders of all the different projects we've seen today, so you can ask them questions. We won't have time for all the questions that have come up on the chat line, but we at least have time for some of them. At least it will whet your appetite. The first question is for Jorge Jaramillo, and it says, in protected horticulture, would these greenhouse or net house technologies be useful in a colder climate? And also for building these structures, what recommendations can you make? Jorge. Yes, the whole issue of colder climates generally is where horticulture developed in our countries, and greenhouses have worked very well in those areas because normally there is a very good distribution, and the idea is to protect the crops from extreme weather circumstances. In warmer climates, the net houses work very well. In fact, they work the best. But when we designed greenhouses based on local climate conditions in each area, we found that greenhouses that were adapted to the local conditions, equipped with computer systems, have very great potential for performing very well under such conditions. What I said at the beginning of my presentation was exactly this. We are currently high temperature production projects are taking place, and they've always used technology from cold climates, and no one had ever thought about the specific climatic conditions in each region. What do you need to do in order to simulate and design structures? At the very least, a database, 5 to 20 years worth of weather data, climate data, so that you know what is happening with the different climate variables: temperature, relative humidity, uh, sun. Sunshine and humidity, everything, in order to know also the fluid flows, and in order to, so you can figure out what structure you need and then figure out how to build it. So that's what we did with this project. The 7 structures we built were based on local climate conditions, and so we were able to see very good performance by comparison with the open field. Also, the use of greenhouse technologies that could be used, and the idea is to be able to continue studying, do further studies. For example, we want to figure out whether you could set up some type of plastic covering, which reflects light better, so that the temperature in the greenhouse could be 2 to 3 degrees less than outside, which is what many countries are doing in the world. But in the project, um, so these are some of the recommendations we have from the project for future study.
Thank you, Jorge. Next question for Luciano. Is there a risk of contamination of products with metals, heavy metals? What's the final destination of the waste? Thank you. Yes, that is a question that we get often, especially when talking about transmitting the heavy metals in the soil to the products. And this has to do with the strategic decision of using aromatic species, because that's essential oils are obtained through a distillation technique called steam tracking. So there is a steam current that is used in a specific container. There's condensation and physical separation through a decanter. And the metal component, the metal ions, remain in the plant biomass. We do have the results of the quality analysis, and that's important, of course, when we send back the oils to the producers, that they have the levels of metals to make sure that their products are not contaminated, or the floral subproducts, either, or byproducts, excuse me. And then the residues, the residual levels of metals that might be in the plant, as I said, you need to strategically select the microorganisms that we inoculate into the seedlings. By doing that, we are able to prevent the plant from conveying the heavy metal to the aerial part. But if that were to happen, all of the metals that are still there but less bioavailable, all of that residue goes back to sent back to the mining company, to the mine, and that's used for composting together with the food waste from the mine. So it continues to exist, but with less bioavailability. And if we take into account the fact that if our environmental impact studies are correct, then this should not even pose a risk to the environment, not even in the mine, on the site, so to speak. Thank you, Luciano. Very interesting. And that was a very clear answer. The next question is for Carlos Dorrego. What were the fruit derivatives that were designed in the project that reached the market, and what is a biorefinery? Thank you, Esther. About the 3 projects that reached the market, these were products. They were inputs for citrus fruits such as oranges, lemons, and mandarin oranges, or tangerines, which were developed with a partner FLP, a company, and these are free of preservatives and these juices. And also they got a new piece of equipment for the processing of these citrus fruits. So what they did was they added a new line of production in the plant with the necessary technological adjustments made for the production of these specific types of juice that are now being demanded by the by consumers to have as little by way of preservatives as possible. So there and there was a new machine that was built also from Italy. Purchased, and we work with biorefineries. Biorefineries, for those of you who are not familiar with that term, are a way of using biomass coming from waste. Usually, in our case, these are orange peels and other waste from the crops. What remains out in the field after the plant has lived out its life cycle. And the name, I mean, is self-explanatory, right? So the idea is to draw an analogy between a refinery, like an oil refinery, where oil is used or petroleum is used as an input, right? But there are different levels of complexity. But what we try to do is make use of all of the biomass, of the residual biomass or the waste, otherwise seen as waste. I'll give you a very simple or maybe simplified example, so just so you understand it better. We, for example, worked with passion fruit, where galupa and maracujá, or passion fruit. So these are different types of passiflora, were used for the conventional processes as input for frozen or juice concentrate, but the peels, the seeds, and even the hay from the crops were used through a biorefinery to produce dietary fiber for human consumption. And part of the waste was used, there was encapsulation of the aroma, for example, as as aromatics for pharmaceuticals or foodstuffs, and in powders. And the fiber can be used for, or bagasse can be used for for molecules for chemical products, which are a bit more complex. Your microphone is closed, is muted, Esther. Thank you. The next question is for Horacio. What is the project strategy for the development of the tools that came up and were created during the pandemic? Well, during the pandemic, Peru was hard hit. And so we worked on at two levels. First of all, coordination work. We have a link to the technical team, as I said, and also in the field, at the level of the territory with producers in particular. The social media were used quite successfully and helped us with as they learned to use them and work with the technical teams, because the technical experts, most of them have access to these tools. So there was ongoing contact through meetings, online meetings. And that was in many cases, a very, very positive catalyst for cooperation with in certain places. Links and the relationship with producers was a problem. There was greater technical work that was carried out, but knowledge management became an issue that needed to be addressed. So that's where I mentioned two other tools, what I call the MOOCs, these open courses, these online courses with videos on smartphones and tutorials on smartphones. All of these tools are available to farmers. It's not easy, but it's possible. All of these tools that we have now available to us need to be worked on and improved. Currently, we're working with a virtual repository of information for producers, and where they can have access to information through WhatsApp also. All of this information used to be obtained in face-to-face meetings, which are not possible now. Videos, podcasts, and the like have been helpful. We are all learning along the way in view of the situation that we are faced with. Thank you, Horacio. Two final questions. First, Francisco. For Francisco, the question is, how did the pandemic affect the markets that you used to work with or that you worked with as part of your project? Francisco, you have the floor. Yes, Esther. The pandemic had an effect, hit all of the markets, and the markets that we work with experienced different processes. As I was saying, there's what they call the justa. But in other places, in Spain, for example, there was a logistics center called Madrid Kilómetro Cero, also a market, a wholesale market. Well, it was faced with a huge challenge when hit by the pandemic, and that led to, and they were able to increase marketing levels. They added more days, working days, and new points of distribution of their organic products. And this co-op experienced a great and significant growth in their client base, because aside from the products that they produce themselves, there are other clients such as La Colmena Dice Sí. They sell organic products as well, and they started to use, they started using Madrid Kilómetro Cero as a channel, as a distribution channel. So there was a major leap and major growth. Then there were other responses, and there were other very challenging situations, such as another logistic center in the Basque Country, where they sold organics to the hospitality industry, restaurants and hotels, and they had to imagine and rethink their whole strategy because their clients just went away. Hotels and restaurants were closed, and they started to use different forms of delivery also to homes. And but what is very important to see is online sales and how they have grown. And there's a great deal of demand for training and support for that. So for the project, this was a major challenge that we had to rise up to, because this was all unforeseen and it took us by surprise. And we tried to actually reinforce this through a workshop that is underway. It will end in 2 weeks, and it will with 50 or family farming organizations from Argentina and Bolivia to teach about online sales and marketing. After the pandemic, I mean, being we're still in the midst of the pandemic, but even after the pandemic, many of these new lessons learned and many of these systems will remain in place. Hopefully, the clients will remain in the long run as well. The truth is that the agri-food sector has been an example and has led by example throughout the pandemic and has continued to feed the world in different ways. So the last question is for Angelica. What has been the impact of your project in terms of changing farmers' attitude to post-harvest harvest management? Well, one of the most wonderful things about this project was to work through these platforms in groups and working with the Peruvian farmers and being able to compare processes in Peru and Colombia. And this exchange of knowledge and wisdom is very important. We realize that Peruvian producers are better organized. They work with organic fertilizers. They know which materials are best and what's and highest quality, and that experience was also benefited Colombia through that exchange of knowledge. Because, for example, in Colombia, producers almost never use fermentation, and they learned from Peru and started doing it. Once they saw the prototype, they liked it because they felt that there was a possibility to improve the quality of their product. And the same goes for the use of tires. Tires are very, very highly polluting. Oftentimes people burn them because they don't know what to do with them. And here, what you're doing is putting them to good use and using the good qualities of rubber. So I'd like to thank Fontagro through its technical secretariat for affording us the opportunity to work like this through a platform. That's what we need to do in Latin America. We share many challenges in our region. And if we continue to work together, there will be a change of paradigm and the attitude and the mindset of our producers, which will lead to a better quality of life for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelica. That finishes our questions. If you are interested in knowing more about the project, you can certainly log on to the Fontagro website and look into them. I now want to recognize Eugenia, so she can tell us about the findings of the judges for the award. Go ahead, Eugenia. Good. First of all, I want to thank you, Esther, for your participation, for moderating, and also thank all the participants. It's been very hard to do this. We're thinking that these projects took place between 2019 through some of them, 2016 to 19 was when they started, so it's been quite a few years. And you might think, well, this work includes the entire team. Problems can be solved better by a team. The time has come. We started the voting process yesterday. We sent the information to our board of directors, also to the other lead researchers. We've also posted information on the different websites of the project, the different pages. So we have the winning team for this award, for this Scientific Excellence Award of Fontagro for 2021, and that is the AgroSabia team led by Jorge Jaramillo, Innovations for Protected Horticulture in Tropical Regions. Congratulations, Jorge. Congratulations to AgroSabia and also the EDIAP team from Panama, and also EDIAP in the Dominican Republic, INTA Costa Rica, all of them. We wish you the greatest of success, and we would like to invite Jorge, who now knows. I don't know if you're there, Jorge, whether you can share a few words with us. Oh, yes, I'm right here with my camera on. Congratulations. No, thank you. This means so much to me, to my team. This is wonderful. We have worked very hard, and as I said in my presentation, thank God, thank Fontagro, which gave us the opportunity to take action in this production system, which is so significant in the marginalized areas, the high temperature areas, where food security is a terrible problem. We have seen that we are pioneers in these regions. We're the first ones to be studying these production systems in this way, and I'm convinced that what we're doing is right. It's been hard, especially because of the pandemic. We had to work very hard to coordinate with the whole team under these conditions, but the team is excellent, and we've built good friendships. I have to tell you, I am so pleased. Thank you to all of you. Also, thank you to the others who presented their projects. Your projects were fascinating, excellent. So the competition was pretty tough. I saw excellent projects. So I want to thank all of you. We are so excited, I have to tell you. All of the projects have been excellent. It's important to see how Fontagro has grown and developed in recent years. The projects we saw in this panel all involve strategic intervention for many economies in many of the countries. You had a close there's a close follower for you in the region. Oh, the project in the Andean region was very close to yours. There was a tight competition between the two. There are many in Fontagro. This is a subject that has shown to us how important it is for the region to test these production systems. And now, even more than protected agriculture, there are many other issues involving vertical agriculture. In urban systems, we're seeing it. You've seen how important it is. Jorge, what you were talking about, food sovereignty and food security, especially at a time such as this with the pandemic, and the potential of protected agriculture can help people diversify their diets and thus improve nutritional levels, which we all need. I want to recognize Esther once again. I would like to congratulate Jorge as well. You and your entire team, you deserve this award. You have done an excellent job. It's very innovative as well, because high temperature regions, people think that people don't realize how much protected horticulture can improve things, and you have shown that it can, that it's true. The technology, the potential of taking this knowledge to the latest stages of technology development is bearing fruit. So keep working at it. If you can can spread these innovations to other countries and regions, better yet. So many people can benefit. So again, congratulations to all of you. Thank you, Esther. I think we planted a seed here. We've made it's just a grain of salt that we've contributed to these regions. And I have to tell you that we are now developing a project with Fontagro, which is a document on sectoral policy for protected agriculture conditions in these countries. And we think it will help the organizations make better decisions. We're guiding them to help them understand how they can foster protected agriculture in any region. Because protected agriculture, as Eugenia just said, right now is the best option we have available to mitigate climate change and make our crops more resilient than they are out in the open field. So again, thank you. Blessings for everyone. And we're so happy. We're so excited. Thank you, Jorge. And thank you too, Esther. I particularly want to thank the rest of the participants as well, everyone who's been in the panel. All of your projects have produced excellent results. And in Fontagro, we will continue to work with all of you in all of these initiatives in one way or another. So again, thank you, everyone. I now want to recognize our Master of Ceremonies, Pedro. Are you still there? Thank you, Eugenia. I want to ask Esther and all of the other participants today to turn on your cameras, if you would. Please turn on your video. We want to take a picture. We've been taking a snapshot every day of all the participants, and so that's what we want. This picture will summarize the work that we did this morning. Kati's making it happen. Take a good picture. Very good. Again, congratulations to each and every one of the participants who spoke today and shared your projects, your hard work. And now, before we officially close the event, we want once again to introduce the president of INTA Argentina, Susana Mirasu. Also with us is Carlos Parera, the executive director of INTA, and also Eugenia Saini, the executive secretary of Fontagro. Eugenia, you have the floor. Thank you, Pedro. Here we are. We have finished these 3 wonderful days for Fontagro, where for us it's very important to be able to tell people about all the work we're doing in the region. And not only in the region. Many of these projects include other countries as well, Spain and other countries from outside our region. For us, this work makes it possible for us to demonstrate the high levels of performance of all of the research teams in the region. Not only the research teams, by the way, but also the farmer associations, the companies. As we said at the beginning, Fontagro co-finances public and private partnerships for innovation in the region. And the idea is to generate strengths, synergies between people, between institutions, also among the countries, and that this would make it possible for all of us to know more, to generate more knowledge, develop new technologies, innovations, to foster competitiveness for our agricultural economies. All of our countries in Latin America have agricultural sectors. They have a great wealth of natural resources, and therefore it is our responsibility for all of us to work in that direction. Today, we have had some very clear examples. The Francisco's project, for example, in northern Argentina and Bolivia, with markets, especially family farm markets, how we can innovate. And when all of this happened, when the pandemic began and we all started rolling up our sleeves and figuring out what we were going to do, how we were going to keep working, Francisco's team quickly developed digital mechanisms that they could use for training people, training the people who needed to sell, and also knowledge for those who needed to buy. It was so important. Angelica's project is another one. They have been working very hard for years now on how to understand the physiology of cadmium in plants, in the soil, and how to develop systems that would lower the potential of having cadmium appear in cacao, which is one of the main exports of the Andean region. Another, Horacio's project in the Gran Chaco. We all know how difficult it is to work in that region, in the Chaco. There's so many challenges, especially with climate change. And then the Carlos Orrego's project on competitiveness for Andean fruit production, connected with Europe, with an organization which is so well known for adding value and for marketing. Luciano's work, unique. It's the first time we've done it in Fontagro. How to remediate soils with the use of aromatics and essential oils, and what you can do with these species. And then finally, Jorge's project, along with the team in Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, that took on the challenge of saying, how can we respond to climate change and at the same time improve the nutrient value of our vegetable production for the benefit of the population. Good projects, excellent projects, and all of you have come up against challenges that you were able to overcome. I want to congratulate all of you and also emphasize the support of our board of directors, which clearly is the one that identifies strategies and supports strategies out in the field. Our entire board of directors, thank you. Also, thank you, Esther, for your participation in this panel discussion, for being with us, and also all the other people who have been here over these 3 days. I want to thank INTA Argentina, AICA Costa Rica, here in Washington, ICA also, the IDB here in Washington, the Technical Secretariat, and all the other consultants who are always with us in all the details. Also, the interpreters who are out there, Pedro, you as well. I want to thank the communication team from Maximo Tempo, and there are so many others. I now want to recognize Carlos Parera, who is with us here for the closing activity. Also, Susana.
Bueno, muy buenos días.
Good morning to all, and thank you for spending 3 days with us. During this 3 days, we had this excellent workshop where we've learned about all of these outstanding activities that have been funded by Fontagro. I would also like to say a special word of thanks to the leaders of the various projects that have been talked about, and the executive directors of Fontagro for the organization of this event. And Jorge, I would like to congratulate you on that award, well-deserved award, by the way, for your project. We would have liked to host you in person, of course, but unfortunately the situation turned us into online hosts. What matters, however, is that we were able to hear about your progress and to talk to each other and discuss this. And at some point, we will be able to enjoy an Argentinian barbecue and wine together, hopefully. Over the last 3 days, we have reaffirmed the importance of Fontagro and its importance for development and cooperation in our region, strengthening and sharing knowledge, strengthening interdisciplinary teams, training, the incorporation of the concept of gender as well. We have seen this materialize, all of these things, and that's just a indication of the potential that the Fontagro holds. All of this towards development in our region with inclusion and always with our producers in mind. Finally, I think that Fontagro is also a tool that shows everyone the potential that Latin America and the Caribbean hold in terms of technological development, and that we can be very important partners in initiating global cooperation processes around the world, and we need to continue to bolster this very important, in my opinion, important fund. So thank you for coming to Argentina, albeit virtually. And now Susana will take the floor. Good morning. What a wonderful week we have shared, the week of knowledge. We are so happy and proud of this achievement and of having gone through these 3 days of workshops together. First of all, I'd like to extend my greetings to all of the teams from the various countries and the researchers and who went from working together in the field in presence with producers, men and women alike, and in spite of the difficulties, have been able to keep these projects going that are so rewarding and that reinforce what our raison d'etre. I would like to congratulate the Colombian team, and through Jorge, I'd like to congratulate his team as well for being the winners of this contest. But I would also like to congratulate everybody else who has been working together in unison for this to become a reality. Once again, I'd like to thank the Secretariat of Fontagro, and I see Eugenia. She looks so happy to be here to share this time with you, to spend time with you and share all of this knowledge and information. We're so happy to be here. Greetings to the Board of Directors of Fontagro and INTA Argentina and their team, which have enabled us to continue to work online. Pedro, who has been an excellent moderator and is always a staple in our meetings. We need to continue working hard along this path. And as Eugenia was saying, and Carlos was saying as well, and as you have seen over the last 3 days, we need to continue to contribute to the competitiveness of this sector and to make and towards the sustainable use of natural resources in the region, in the interest of family farmers who need us. We need to continue to build an agenda together with them, trying to find the best technological alternatives in terms of also protection of the environment and reorganizing work in the rural milieu within a framework of inclusion and equity. Our doors at INTA Argentina will always be open to potentialize this type of cooperation and to continue to organize these activities. Together, we can continue to work, always bearing in mind the needs of our farmers. So thank you again. I send you warm greetings and wish you an excellent rest of the week, and please continue to take care of yourselves. Thank you, Susana Mirazu, President of INTA, and Mr. Carlos Pereira, also Director of INTA, and Eugenia Saina, Executive Director of Ontagro. This closes the 16th webinar, and thank you all and enjoy the rest of your day.